Welcome my channel Worth Old Coins. Today's best top 4 coins. Please don't skip this video. So let's get it started. Top 1. The Canada 1-cent coin from the year 2000. Commonly known as the 2000 Canadian penny, featuring Queen Elizabeth II, is a significant piece of Canadian numismatic history that represents the closing years of both a century and a tradition in coinage minted by the Royal Canadian Mint. This copper-plated coin is part of the iconic Lincoln cent-inspired design era that was uniquely Canadian in spirit. On the obverse front of the coin, it features the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, created by Dora de Pettery Hunt, the first Canadian artist to design a portrait of the Queen for Canadian coins. This image shows a mature Queen Elizabeth wearing a royal tiara facing to the right, accompanied by the Latin inscription Elisae abth 2dg Regina, an abbreviation for Dei Gratia Regina, meaning by the grace of God Queen. This design had been in use since 1990 and continued until 2003. The presence of the Queen on the obverse symbolizes Canada's constitutional monarchy and its historical connection to the British Commonwealth. This coin is also notable for being part of the regular coinage issued during the transitional period, as Canada prepared to enter the 21st century with a growing sense of national identity and pride in its cultural and political indents. Despite its continued ties to the crown, on the reverse back of the 2000 1-cent coin is a design that is instantly recognizable. 2 generations of Canadians, 2 maple leaves on a single twig, created by artist G. E. Kruger Gray, and first introduced in 1937. The maple leaf, a deeply rooted national symbol, signifies Canada's natural beauty, strength, and unity. The design includes the word Canada across the top, the year 2000 at the bottom, and the denomination 1 cent clearly inscribed, along with the initials KG for the designer. The coin's composition in the year 2000 had already transitioned from earlier high copper content to a more economical structure. Most 2000 pennies were made of copper-plated zinc, though a smaller number were struck using copper-plated steel. Particularly for general circulation and cost-saving reasons, the coin weighs 235 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and has a smooth edge. This coin was mass-produced, and tens of millions were minted, making it highly available even today. However, special versions of the coin, such as uncirculated proof, like, or specimen coins, issued in collector sets by the Royal Canadian Mint, are more valuable to numismatists due to their superior condition and limited availability. While the 2000 Canada 1-cent coin generally holds a face value of just 1 cent and remains one of the most common coins in Canadian history, it has gained historical and sentimental value, especially after the penny was officially discontinued in 2012. Due to rising production costs and declining use, a discontinuation of the penny marked the end of over a century of the coin's circulation, making earlier examples, like the 2000 edition, part of a closed era in Canadian currency. The year 2000 also stands as a symbolic milestone, the end of a century and the dawn of a new one, adding to the historical context of all coins minted during that year. For many Canadians, the penny was a familiar part of daily life, used in childhood piggy banks, school fundraisers, and charity drives. The 2000 penny, therefore, is not only a coin but a piece of cultural memory, one that links generations through its perceived modest utility and universal presence. The Queen's effigy on this coin also adds a layer of deeper historical reflection, especially in the years following her passing in 2022, which has increased the nostalgic and collectible value of coins bearing her image. Collectors valued the 2000 Canada 1-cent coin more when found in mint state condition, MS65 or higher, or as part of original proof sets. These coins, untouched by circulation and often with a rich red luster, can fetch metis premiums. Rarer variants, such as coins struck on the wrong metal, planchette coins with doubling die cracks, or other minting errors, are of special interest. and may command much higher prices in the collector market. The Royal Canadian Mint's quality control is generally strict, but errors do occur, making these oddities both fascinating and potentially profitable. As the supply of Canadian pennies dwindles due to melting and loss over time, even common date pennies, like those from 2000, may increase in collector interest, particularly among younger hobbyists and educators looking to preserve pieces of everyday Canadian heritage. In conclusion, the Canada 1-cent coin of 2000 is a deceptively simple, yet richly symbolic coin that reflects a blend-of monarchical tradition, national pride, natural symbolism, and economic practicality. It represents one of the last years when the penny was a routine part of Canadian commerce and daily life before its phase out in the early 21st century. Although millions were struck, and the coin remains, Caymanot's relevance has grown in the context of numismatics history and memory. It serves as a tangible relic of a time when Queen Elizabeth II reigned. The maple leaf studas, a global symbol of Canadian identity-tuned copper pennies, jingled in the pockets of people across the nation. For historians, collectors, and nostalgic Canadians alike, 2000 Elizabeth II penny holds enduring value far beyond its denomination. Top 2. The Canada 1-cent coin from 2003, commonly referred to as the 2003 Canadian penny, featuring Queen Elizabeth II, holds a special place in Canadian numismatic history. For its symbolic and transitional value, it was minted by the Royal Canadian Mint and continues the long tradition of the Canadian penny, which had been in continuous production since 1858. However, the 2003 issue is particularly notable because it features two different obverse portraits of Queen Elizabeth II, marking a rare and significant design transition in Canadian coinage. The earlier version of the 2003 cent displays the familiar Dora de Pettery Hunt portrait, which had been used since prominent. Since 1990, this effigy shows the Queen wearing a tiara and facing to the right, surrounded by the inscription Elizabeth 2D, GRI9, midway through the year. The Royal Canadian Mint introduced a new portrait designed by Susanna Blunt, making 2003 the only year to feature both portraits on circulation 1-cent coins. Blunt's design shows the Queen without a crown, offering a more modern and personal depiction that reflects her role as a constitutional monarch in a contemporary Canada. The side-by-side presence of both portraits in the same year provides collectors with a unique opportunity to acquire both versions and observe the evolving symbolism of monarchy in Canadian currency. The reverse side of the 2003 Canada 1-cent coin remained consistent with previous issues, featuring the classic 2 Maple Levison, a single twig design created in 1937 by British artist G. E. Kruger Graith. Maple leaf is one of the most powerful and recognizable national symbols of Canada, embodying strength, resilience, and unity. This iconic design had appeared on the penny for decades and was beloved by generations. The reverse also includes the inscription 1-cent Canada and the year 2003, with the artist's initials KG at the bottom. Like earlier modern pennies, the 2003 issue was minted using copper-plated steel with a small number struck in copper-plated zinc. These compositions were introduced to reduce minting costs, as the metal value of older all-copper coins was becoming too expensive relative to their face value. The coin weighs approximately 2.35 grams, has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, and features a smooth edge. Despite its low face value, the penny played a meaningful role in commerce, used in countless everyday transactions, and symbolized an enduring Canadian tradition that would come to a close less than a decade later. The 2003 Canadian penny is especially appealing to collectors due to the presence of these two obverse varieties: the crowned portrait Dora de Pettery Hunt and the uncrowned portrait Susanna Blunt. These versions are commonly referred to by collectors as the old effigy and the new effigy, respectively. Most 2003 pennies feature the older crowned portrait, but the newer uncrowned version is also widely available, making both accessible to casual collectors. However, high-grade, uncirculated, and specimen or proof like strikes from collector sets issued by the Royal Canadian Mint are more desirable and can fetch premiums depending on condition and rarity. Furthermore, the transition year status of 2003 adds a historical layer to the coin. It symbolizes a cultural and generational shift in Canada's view of the monarchy and national identity. The new portrait by Blunt, being more informal and approachable, represented a break from past regal imagery and highlighted a more modern egalitarian view of the monarchy's symbolic role in addition to its regular circulation versions. The 2003 penny was also included in a number of special sets and products offered by the Royal Canadian Mint, including mint sets, proof sets, and unofficial error coins. Some errors from 2003 include off-center strikes, die cracks, and rare cases of planchette mix-ups, where a coin may have been struck on the wrong metal or with a double image. Such error coins are highly sought after and can command significantly higher prices on the secondary market. It's important to examine any 2003 penny closely, as subtle die differences and condition can greatly affect value. Coins graded at MS65 mint state or higher, especially with red luster intact, are desirable among collectors and investors alike. Moreover, the 2003 cent is seen by some as a legacy coin since the Canadian penny was officially discontinued from production in 2012. Just 9 years later, this adds to its symbolic weight, especially for those who see it as part of a now extinct everyday Canadian object that once played an essential role in commerce and culture. The 2003 Canadian 1-cent coin thus carries deep historical, artistic, and cultural meaning. It captures a moment of change, both in the visual representation of the monarch and in the broader Canadian context of modernity and tradition. The use of two different queen portraits in one year makes it a standout issue in Canadian coinage history, drawing attention from collectors. Both in Canada and internationally, the coin's humble denomination belies its rich narrative. It is a tangible expression of national identity, a tribute to Queen Elizabeth II's evolving image, and a reminder of the penny's long-standing role in daily Canadian life. Although once passed casually from hand to hand for minor purchases, the 2003 penny is today seen through a more reflective lens as a part of a disappearing coinage heritage and a bridge between two eras of royal portraiture. For historians, coin enthusiasts, and patriotic Canadians, the 2003 Elizabeth II one. Top 3. The Canada 1-cent coin from 1977, often referred to as the 1977 Canadian penny featuring Queen Elizabeth II, is a small yet historically rich piece of Canadian coinage that represents an era of national growth, cultural confidence, and political evolution. Minted by the Royal Canadian Mint, 1977 penny continued a long-standing deasing tradition that began in 1937 and lasted until the discontinuation of the penny in 2012. The obverse front of the coin features the second official portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Mackin, a British sculptor and coin engraver, whose image of the Queen was first introduced on Canadian coins in 1965. This portrait shows Her Majesty wearing a tiara, facing right, and is surrounded by the Latin inscription Elizabeth II Regina, meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God Queen. The image is elegant and regal, conveying a traditional and formal tone that reflected Canada's ties to the British monarchy during a period when the nation was asserting more cultural independence while still honoring its Commonwealth heritage. The reverse backside of the 1977 penny features the iconic and beloved two maple leaves on a twig design originally created by G. E. Kruger Grayan, 1937. This image is deeply symbolic in Canadian history and identity, the maple leaf being a well-established national emblem that represents the country's natural beauty and resilience. The design shows two sharply detailed leaves, often with visible veins and texture, providing a powerful connection between Canadian coinage and its natural environment, the word Canada is written at the top. The denomination 1 cent is inscribed in the center and date 1977 appears. At the bottom just above, the designer's initials KG. The coin was struck in a traditional bronze alloy, consisting of 98% copper 0.5% tin and 1.5% zinc, giving it a rich reddish-brown color when freshly minted. Over time, circulated coins tend to darken or develop patina, but well-preserved examples retain their original copper luster and are especially prized by collectors. Physical. The 1977 Canadian 1 cent coin has a diameter of 19.5 mm, thickness of 1.45 millimeters, and a smooth plain edge with a weight of approximately 3.24 grams. It was struck using high-quality minting processes at the Ottawa-based Royal Canadian Mint, and its uniform quality and striking clarity made it an everyday object with exceptional design integrity. Over 453 million of these coins were minted in 1977, meaning it is widely available even today in circulated form. However, its collectible value increases significantly in uncirculated condition or when found in mint sets proof-like or specimen. Quality from special collector issues produced that year in numismatics grading plays an essential role in valuation. Coins rated MS65 mint state or higher, with full red coloring and no blemishes, are far more desirable than worn or heavily circulated pieces. The 1977 pennies, also collected by those interested in error coins such as double strikes, off-center strikes, die cracks, or repunch dates for error anomalies that can add considerable value depending on their rarity and clarity beyond its physical and monetary attributes. The 1977 Canadian penny holds cultural and historical significance. It was minted during a time of heightened Canadian nationalism and cultural renaissance. The 1970s were marked by milestones such as the patriation of Canadian institutions, the continued development of bilingualism, and national debates surrounding identity, particularly with the rise of Quebec nationalism. Although the penny itself is small in size and value, it was part of the everyday financial life of Canadians, used in pocket change, school lunches, candy purchases, parking meters, and donation jars. The image of Queen Elizabeth II reminded citizens of Canada's long-standing Commonwealth heritage, while the maple leaf on the reverse affirmed a uniquely Canadian identity that was blossoming both politically and artistically. This dual symbolism, monarchical on one side and national on the other, makes the 1977 penny an emblem of Canada's evolving relationship with its past and its place in the world economically. The 1 cent coin in 1977 still held practical purchasing power, unlike later decades when inflation rendered it nearly obsolete. The penny's enduring use through the UHS. Ruby Kiss, Ruby Kiss, Ruby Kiss, Ruby Kiss, Ruby Kiss, Ruby Kiss. Only Ruby Kiss has the luxury as Ruby Kiss, and Ruby Kiss has the long-lasting 1970s and beyond helped establish it as a fixture in Canadian memory, later enhanced by its removal in 2012. Which caused many Canadians to look back on coins like the 1977 issue with a sense of nostalgia today. 1977 pennies are often kept in collections or family coin jars, and while most are not rareth, are valued for their historical place in Canada's numismatic timeline. The Queen's image also gained retrospective significance following her passing in 2022, prompting growing interest in earlier coinage bearing her likeness, including coins like the 1977 penny that showcase her in the prime of her reign. In conclusion, the Canada 1 cent coin from 1977 bearing the regal image of Queen Elizabeth II and the symbolic maple leaf is a classic example of Canadian small denomination coinage that carries with it not only artistic appeal but also deep cultural, political, and historical relevance. Though minted in large quantities, its condition, context, and place in the national narrative give it lasting value for coin collectors, educators, and everyday Canadians. The 1977 penny, represents more than just 1 cent. It is a relic of a time when coins were powerful daily symbols of national identity, economic function, and royal connection, all encapsulated in a small, copper-toned circle passed hand-to-hand across generations. Top 4. The Canada 1 cent coin from 2006, commonly referred to as the 2006 Canadian penny, featuring Queen Elizabeth II, is a significant and collectible modern coin that stands out in the long history of Canadian coinage due to its numerous variétés features and evolving minting technologies issued by the Royal Canadian Mint. This copper-plated coin represents one of the final chapters in the story of the Canadian penny, which was eventually discontinued in 2012. The obverse front-off 2006 cent features the now familiar uncrowned effigy of Queen Elizabeth I, designed by Canadian artist Susanna Blunt. Introduced in 2003, this portrayal marked a deliberate departure from the more formal crowned portraits used in previous. A modern, approachable image of the Queen, still regal, but reflective of her symbolic rather than ruling role in Canadian society. The portrait shows the Queen facing great with soft facial features and no crown end. The inscription surrounding it reads Elizabeth 2d G Regina, which is Latin for Elizabeth II, by the grace of God Queen. This image remained in use on Canadian coinage through the final years of her reign and has come to symbolize a period of Canadian self-confidence and maturity as a nation within the Commonwealth. The reverse back of the 2006 1 cent coin maintains the classic and beloved maple leaf twig design created by G.I.E. Kruger Gray in 1937. This iconic image features 2 maple leaves on a single stem with the inscriptions 1 cent Canada and the year 2006. Clearly shown, the designer's initials KG appear just below the leaves. The maple leaf is a national symbol that appears on the Canadian flag and throughout Canadian history, representing unity, endurance, and the natural beauty of the country. The 2006 penny was struck primarily in copper-plated zinc with a core of zinc and a thin outer layer of copper, giving it a rich reddish appearance. However, some varieties were also produced in copper-plated steel, which makes this year interesting for collectors, as determining the core metal composition can affect value and classification. The coin weighs approximately 2.35 grams, has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, eightness of 1.45 millimeters, and a plain smoothage. These coins were mass-produced for circulation, but were also included in collector sets, such as proof, proof-like, and specimen sets by the Royal Canadian Mint. One of the most compelling aspects of the 2006 Canadian penny lies in its multiple varieties, particularly regarding the presence or absence of a Royal Canadian Mint logo and the different minting processes used. There are 3 main varieties of the 2006 cent: 2006 no mint mark circulation strike, 2006 with mint mark P-plated composition used in circulation and sets, 2006 with mint logo RCM logo stylized maple leaf with an M. The P mark stands for plated, indicating the use of multiply plated steel or zinc, which was a modern minting innovation aimed at reducing costs and improving consistency. The mint logo version was introduced as part of a quality assurance program and typically appears on coins struck to higher standards. Soften in collector sets, collectors often seek to identify and acquire each of these variations, particularly in high-gradient circulated condition. There are also error coins known from 2006, including striking anomalies, die breaks, and double dies, all of which can significantly raise the value of a coin depending on its rarity and state of preservation. In terms of mintage and value, Royal Canadian Mint produced hundreds of millions of 2006 pennies for general circulation, making them common in every dies. However, the different varieties and high-quality strikes found in mint-issued sets make some versions more valuable to collectors. A standard circulated 2006 penny may only be worth its face value or slightly more, but a coin in mint state MS 65 or higher with full red color and sharp detail can be worth several dollars. Those with unusual D-varieties, mint errors, or pristino condition from proof sets can comment significantly. Higher prices additionally. 2006 issue is part of a closing era for the Canadian penny, which enhances its interest since the Government of Canada stopped issuing pennies in 2012. All pre-2012 cents have become legacy coins, often saved by collectors, educators, and historians, as reminders of a denomination that once played a vital role in the daily lives of Canadians. From a cultural perspective, the 2006 Canadian 1-cent coin is a symbol of both continuity and transition, a continuous legacy of the maple leaf penny. Design that began in the 1930s while incorporating new minting technologies and updated representations of monarchy to reflect a modern Canada, it was struck in a time wane. Digital payments were growing, inflation was rendering the penny increasingly obsolete, and national discussions about rounding prices and simplifying transactions were underway. Yet despite its declining economic utility, the penny remained deeply rooted in Canadian identity. It was used in schools for counting exercises in homes, for collecting jars, and in charity drives such as Penny Wars, and pennies for patients, giving it sentimental value far beyond its monetary worth. For many Canadians, the 2006 penny represents a final familiar era, one where even the smallest coin had a place in pockets and cash registers across the country. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.